Today's episode is part 2 of our conversation on the Lord Howe Island stick insect. In part 1, we unpacked the story for this incredible little species itself. If you haven't listened yet, you're going to want to go and check that out before this episode. In part 2, we're taking a look at some of the incredible people behind the conservation of the Lord Howe Island stick insect, Kate and Rohan, as we discuss their careers, backgrounds, highlights, and the things they enjoy most. Welcome to the Conservationists Assemble, the podcast that seeks to unite with Earth's mightiest conservation heroes, raising the profile of our planet's threatened species and putting the spotlight on the fantastic in situ and ex situ conservation efforts taking place around the world, highlighting the link between them, as well as asking those important questions of what more can and needs to be done. Whether you're experienced in species survival or new to animal advocacy, this is the podcast for you. Will you join the fight? I am your host, Jonny Bloxham, and I'm inviting you to join the ranks of the Conservationists Assemble community as we take the fight to extinction. This podcast is all about the Lord Howe Island stick insect, and today I'm welcoming back Kate, Pearce and Rohan Cleave from Melbourne Zoo, Australia, a team and zoological collection really and truly on the front lines of the conservation of this species. Kate, Rohan, welcome back to the podcast. Let's pick up where we left off. But we're just going to switch track now, and we're going to take a look into both of your backgrounds and how you got to where you are today. Rohan, you obviously mentioned that your background's in mammals, and Kate, before we started recording, we talked about how you actually spent a bit of time here in the UK. But even before that, when did you know that you were going to get involved in conservation and or zoos?
I grew up in rural Victoria on a farm, and all of my earliest memories and experiences are looking for animals, whether it be frogs or slaters or I'm a huge fan of birds. Actually, there's not an animal that I don't love. So for me, I ended up finishing my schooling years and then, wanted to be on the farm, on the land, which I did. I worked for 9 years on the family farm. We're 7 generations in up there. So, that's something I really love. But I, I wanted to do something else and something important, and that was important. But for me, it was always, at the back of my mind was always conservation. But how that came about then was that I kind of left and went to Queensland and made a Hollywood movie with Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer and David Thewlis and a few others as a Black Panther wrangler, and then received a letter from Melbourne Zoo and got the call up for an interview, and then started on a 2-week contract back in 1996 and never left. And yeah, for me, obviously a large mammal background, so I've done everything from everyone at that time started on native mammals, which I absolutely love and will advocate for at any opportunity, and then moved to ungulates and elephants, and then carnivores, big cats I was working with tigers and things like that. So, and then, unfortunately had an accident, but the drive to protect species in a natural environment gets me out of bed. It's not easy being in chronic pain constantly. It is a real challenge, but when you have a drive that is bigger than yourself, I think that helps you get going in the morning. And I have a huge focus, and I just love what I do. I love working with the teams of people that I've been involved with. There has been changes, obviously. This is a long-going program now for us here at Zoos Victoria. So we started in 2003. Now it's 2025. So, people have come and gone, but you just get to work with great people. And that's the good thing as well. And the goal right from the start of the program has been to hopefully one day get this species home. And that's what I've worked as hard as I can for, is to make that achievable that we can get to that point.
Fantastic. And yeah, Kate, how about your journey?
Yeah, it's hard to follow that, isn't it? Hollywood movies and yeah. So I always loved animals. I always knew that I wanted to work with animals. I came from a family of very much animal lovers. My grandparents had a hobby farm, and my parents, being English, liked bugs as well. So I was quite lucky that not every parent in Australia lets their kids play with bugs. We do have redback, things like that here, so that can put a lot of people off. But I did. I played with bugs and frogs and things like that. I remember going to a careers counsellor at high school, and they didn't know quite what to do with me because I just wanted to work with animals. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I wanted to work with animals. But I ended up studying conservation ecology here in Melbourne, and I did my honours year on small mammals, actually, on rodents, out at Bunyip State Park, which was amazing. And then I decided to do what most Australians do and go travelling for a year. So I did all of that, did the fun stuff, and then ended up volunteering at London Zoo. Um, and the reason I did that is I had done a bit of voluntary work here at Moonlit Sanctuary as well. So I thought, well, I'll go to London and I'll just do a little bit of volunteering. And I was doing the education volunteering and went round to all the precincts, and I just loved what the bug department was doing. It was just so incredible that you could do conservation and research in an urban zoo. I hadn't really thought about that as an option. So I was very lucky. I got a summer seasonal job there some time ago now. And I was lucky. I think it was about 20 years ago now. Anyway, I always feel like a newbie still because there's just
Yeah.
there's so much to learn every single day that you just, I can't imagine that it's been that long. Yeah, so I had a seasonal job, and then I was very lucky in a few years I was made permanent on the bugs department, and I was there for about 5 years. And then I saw an invertebrate specialist job advertised at Melbourne Zoo, and being from Melbourne and knowing how very, very rare invertebrate jobs were in Melbourne, I decided to take the leap. I'd also come back home in 2007 to visit family and did a couple of days here at the zoo just to meet everyone. And that's the first time I saw the Lord Howe stick insect. Wow, amazing. So then when I got the invertebrate specialist job, yeah, it was incredible. Like coming back home and being able to work with that species in particular was, yeah, very much a dream come true. As well as the butterfly house, we could never fail to mention.
Yeah.
Our butterfly house is just really beautiful, and we've all grown up with here at Melbourne. I remember going to it with my nana, 1988, so it's a very special place for me. And then from there, I became the ectotherm coordinator, and now I'm the life science manager. Yes, I'm very fortunate to work here. Zoos Victoria does a lot of conservation work, so we do 27 threatened species here at the zoos. We have 4 zoos. Most of them are Victorian. That is the aim, really, to head towards mostly Victorian. So the Lord Howe is actually a legacy species. It was here before the zoos, the fighting extinction Victorian species program came into effect. So we're very much committed to the Lord Howe. We will see them out until they're home safe and sound. But there's a lot of other species here at the zoo as well that we're very, very fortunate to all work.
Yeah, and just on reflection with that as well was that growing up, obviously National Geographic was a big part of my life as a young boy as well. I remember going to my nana's place in central Victoria and just sitting on the porch and flicking through magazines. And there are 3 articles on significant conservationists that have never left me. Diane Fossey, Dr. Jane Goodall, and Sir David Attenborough. And we've been very, very lucky to meet 2 of those people who have come here to see the Lord Howe stick insect, which is really quite amazing in itself.
Yeah, yeah, it is, and you should absolutely, as a collection, as individuals, as a team, should be shouting about that. Awesome work deserves awesome recognition.
Seeing Sir David holding a stick insect was
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
that never leaves you. Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, incredible, fantastic. But yeah, I'm sure lots of people listening be like, oh, that's so cool. They got to meet Sir David Attenborough, and he's interested in a species that I've dedicated a career to. You know,
Oh, definitely. As soon as he got out of that car, he was, what do they feed? How long's the eggs take to hatch? He was very, very interested in the husbandry, which I suppose we don't really see that in the history programs, but he's just interested in absolutely every aspect of the animals. It's incredible.
And he was very proud of telling us that he had stick insects as a kid too. So
yeah.
was that you have that has that connection straight away, and yeah, off we went, and it was just a chat. It was a beautiful time in history for us. Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And the program, it got lots of exposure, which is always really, really good. Doesn't matter who you're talking to, you give as much information as you can, and the honesty is really, really important as well.
I mean, as if the program doesn't already speak for itself, but if you ever needed that extra little plug saying that Sir David Attenborough had stick insects as a kid, surely would change the world's perception on how we should be conserving our invertebrates.
Yes, definitely, for sure.
There's a bit of a power play there. So
He's an amazing one.
he is, he really is. So what, obviously you've mentioned that there's so many different things involved in this, and if it's not 26,000 Zoom entries, it's hosing down a greenhouse to keep it cool. But is there a particular favourite element of your role?
For me, I would probably have to answer any nymph that hatches, seeing new life. It just means that we're doing our job, and we have another generation of phasmids that we can learn from, we can protect, we can preserve, we can advocate for. There's so many things involved in that, and I mentioned earlier about emotion. That's what this story is, and you have to have that. We are caring beings, sentient beings ourselves, and to see a green nymph, emerge out of its egg or measure it for the first time, and off you go, and you're the next generation right there is pretty special.
For me, it's I think all the new things that we're learning, and it's constant. I talked about it before. We never ever stop learning. So when we brought Vanessa in, so the 2017 trip, we did a survey with Australian Museum, Lord Howe Board, and New South Wales Government, and we had these extreme citizen scientists, we called them. They were rock climbers that volunteered their time to look for these phasmids at night on Ball's Pyramid, which is epic. And across the 7 days, they only found 17. So we can only take 10% of the population, so that we're not jeopardizing their population out in the wild. So Vanessa, who I brought back, and she was named after the climber that found her, she was so unbelievably precious.
Yeah.
Just so unbelievably precious. Lord Howe's also quite hard to fly in and out of. Sometimes the flights get cancelled due to weather. So she had to stay with me until we could fly out, and we ended up being delayed quite a few days. So it sounds mad, but I got to know this stick insect. I knew what time she was coming out to feed. She'd come out, about an hour after sunset, a lap of her enclosure. She'd have a little feed, then she'd go somewhere and rest. And then at about 2, 3 a.m., she'd get up again and she'd do some feeding. And we continued that when we got back to the zoo. We keep really big populations here, so we don't do a lot of behavioural monitoring. But with her, we did. So we carried that on with the cameras, and being able to watch this stick insect the next day after all our activities at night was really amazing. We learned so much from her. So we talked about earlier, some of them lay their eggs into the sand. With Eve, she was very persistent on laying her eggs into the sand. Whereas with Vanessa, she'd drop some, she'd wedge some in some places. Yeah, she loved wedging. She was like, get right into this cocoa mat, or she buried them into sand. So she was quite different to what Eve was. So there's definitely individualism within the stick insects as well. At the moment, we're trialing different garden plants just to see if they'll feed on the plants that are around the hotels and in people's gardens. So figuring out what kind of plants they like there as well. Not many, none of them really is the take home of that, which is quite good. So all the new things that we're discovering every single year, there's always something new, and this is just one species. And you think, oh my gosh, imagine if we knew that about all of it. It's quite overwhelming, really, to think about it. But here in Victoria, Australia, there actually hasn't been a lot of work done on our invertebrates. There's not a hell of a lot of long-range data sets. So to imagine having that amount of knowledge for all the other species that need our help as well. Yeah, we're very fortunate that this species has got that, and it would be amazing going forward if we get that with many others as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that certainly is then answering one of my questions as to what gives you motivation is you both stepping back and being able to see what the work and the efforts for this species can do in terms of perhaps being replicated or being a foundation for building on for those other species that you've mentioned.
Yeah, so we do have another 2 invertebrate focal species at Zoos Victoria. So the golden-rayed blue butterfly, which is our only Victorian endemic species of butterfly. And we do survey work on those every year and planting. They actually have a very common garden plant as their host plant, but it's quite rare in the wild. And they're beautiful, just a beautiful little butterfly. And then we have the Keys matchstick grasshopper as well, which is a flightless little grasshopper. They only lay about 20 eggs really at a time. So they're not very prolific, and they were found in native grasslands. And our grasslands here in Victoria would have been quite vast. And they've been taken for grazing and now development. That's a really big challenge here in Melbourne. So we do have those, and we're also working on an invertebrate plan for Victoria. It can be hard to know where to start because there's just so much to do and so many knowledge gaps to fill. So we're looking at what the options are there, whether we look holistically with different species, or there's a lot being talked about with that. We also have a citizen science project with bogong moths. So bogong moths are another one where they were really, really prolific. There were so many of them, and they migrate from central kind of New South Wales and Victoria up to the alpine regions for summer. And we saw a really, really big crush a few years ago. The numbers are starting to build up now, but understanding why and how and where they go and all of these things is really, really important because they're an incredible food source for mountain pygmy possums and other species that are found up in the alpine regions. So we are actually doing a lot of work at Zoos Victoria for invertebrates, and hopefully others will start picking up that cause as well. Hopefully, if we can get some more interest and more funding out there, hopefully we can see a few more programs up and running.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, I think you've given us a lovely insight into your career so far, but also where your careers are hopefully going off to, in addition to the continued work for the Lord Howe Island stick insect. So I think to finish the conversation here today, we're just going to have some fun, light-hearted questions to finish up on. So are there any other dream species that you would love to work with or to see in the wild?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm going to have to think on that one. Rowan, you go first.
My second favourite species behind the Lord Howe stick insect is a great white shark. I've always loved them. eagles as well, condors in particular. Just fascinated again with that story. But again, I think anything, because we have that background in animals, we have the background in conservation and the natural environment, there's nothing that I wouldn't be jumping at joy for seeing in the wild. And, my favourite places around Melbourne are just walking in the bush, just looking for something new. My goal was always to see something different, whether it's an animal species or a plant species. And, that's really exciting because, again, you never know what you're going to find.
That's such a huge question. And the first thing that jumps in my mind actually is we have a sister zoo in Papua New Guinea. Again, we're very fortunate to have this. Port Moresby Nature Park. So I've been out there a couple of times to set up live food for their frog program. So there's no chytrid fungus in Papua New Guinea yet.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we're helping them establish a frog program there. So they're starting off with some of the common species and working their way up to some of the harder species. So I go over to help with the live food. But I would love to see a Queen Alexandra birdwing and work with those, and also the emerald tree snails, which are found in Manus Island. They are incredible. There's actually a soft toy made of those, which is pretty incredible for an invertebrate, like to have its own dedicated plush toy. So I think those two, Queen Alexandra's and emerald tree snail, they're the first ones that pop into my mind. But also any beetles. I love beetles.
You do.
So I do. I used to work on the Frigate Island beetle program at London, and
amazing.
I still think very fondly about those beetles. So yeah, it'd be nice to have a beetle program here at Zoos Victoria. I'm not sure what species, but yeah, that would be amazing. Maybe the green carpenter bee as well. That's extinct in Victoria. So you got me going now. There's like
That's fine. Keep going. And just for our listeners as well, Kate's currently wearing a jumper with lots of different peacock spiders on, if I'm correct.
Yes, yeah, they're peacock spiders, and a guy from the Melbourne Museum actually worked on the designer for this. They're quite accurate. They're quite taxonomically accurate. Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, they would be another one, but they're so tiny that they're really hard to display. But green carpenter bees, so they used to be found in Victoria, but the last place they were seen were in the Grampians. Grampians is amazing national park. Yeah, great to work with those, bring those back to Victoria. They're incredible, beautiful species. There's just so many species. Some of the ones out on Lord Howe as well, like Lord Howe Island flax snails, and there's been some beetles that have been rediscovered on Blackburn Island. There's a weevil that was amazing, and they're hoping to find that. Yeah, there's so many. I
remember the night we went out on Lord Howe and
Yes.
we found a snail.
Yeah.
And we both
We were like, oh my God, black snail!
it was a really great moment because they're the ones that you really, are highlights in anyone's life, to see something so rare and to see one and it's right in front of you. And, just to look at it, that's all. Take a photograph. For me, I love photography. So I take a photograph, that's it. And then, it's great.
That's quite an emotive one as well, because you see the empty shells everywhere that have been sat there for years and years and years. So seeing one alive one, really amazing.
Big deal.
And then corals and all things, yeah.
That's great to hear what makes you tick, and it's just really nice in terms of just seeing that passion so outwardly displayed.
Yeah, and we can do a lot in zoos. That's another thing I really love to advocate for. We have a big program here, but other zoos can certainly get involved in invertebrates in Australia. I know the UK and America and Europe. Yeah, there's a lot of zoos elsewhere in the world that are doing a lot of invertebrate work. We're really advocating for it here in Australia, and we hope that it'll grow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's needed.
It's needed. There's a lot.
100% needed. I think, yeah, zoos are just globally seeing the potential for invertebrate conservation, and it doesn't need to be these big state of the art enclosures. It could be a tank off display. And actually, I think from a wildlife and conservation advocate, that's some of the things that I enjoy seeing most when I visit a zoo is I look at that lab in the background and I wonder what's going on in there. And yeah, generally, there's a lot of intrigue there.
Yeah, I mean, I go to lots and lots of zoos. I love visiting zoos. And often people will be embarrassed to show you that tank in the corner of conservation species, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it looks like. If it works, it works. We're very lucky to have state of the art. We are very, very lucky. We know that to have what we have here. But a lot of invertebrates don't need that. They don't need it to be really high in technology and looking really. It can work. I mean, we talk about it here at the zoo a lot with our public. For butterflies, particularly, you plant the caterpillar food plant and you plant a nectar plant and you've helped. Like it really can be as simple as that for a lot of species.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for a lot of them, it's getting the basic right to start with, and then you're off and running, and that's really great.
So, Kate, you've actually kind of then led to one of my next questions when you said that you visit a lot of zoos. Is there a favourite zoo that you visited that isn't the zoo that you work at?
London obviously has my heart because I started my paid career there. Port Moresby Nature Park, I love it. I love it there. It's a really beautiful zoo. They've got all native species there, and in Papua New Guinea, a zoo is really rare. There's 2 zoos. So us working with them means they have people to bounce ideas off and learn from, and they don't feel so alone in it, I suppose, because it can be quite hard in this career sometimes. There's so many things to care about. We're all prone to a bit of compassion fatigue. So knowing that you're not alone out there is really important. So yeah, Port Moresby Nature Park and London. London Zoo is definitely. And I also really loved Bristol Zoo as well. Bristol was a really beautiful zoo. Yeah. Oh, and Vienna. Like Vienna.
Oh, Vienna's great. Yeah.
Vienna's such a beautiful zoo. Oh my gosh. So yeah. Yeah. I like going. I recently went to Borneo and went to the zoo there, and it was amazing to see species there that you just won't see anywhere else. I think it doesn't matter where you are in the world, it is definitely worth visiting the zoos just to see what people are getting up to. And more over the years, you go to a smaller park in a different country and there will be conservation messaging there. People are really walking the walk now, I think, no matter where you are in the world. Yeah, definitely. For the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I haven't had an opportunity to really travel much, but getting to New Zealand, for example, some of the conservation work being done over there is really, really quite amazing. For me, my zoo, a lot of my zoos, I read about online or watch documentaries on what they're actually doing, and I do enjoy that a lot. It has been quite difficult to kind of travel a lot for me personally.
Sure.
But you're still connected. It is such a small world now as well. And people are pumping out so much information, research papers we have access to as well, which, you can always learn something new by reading something different. Natural history books are really cool that I really love to read. So that's where I get a lot of information from as well.
Yeah. Got to get information up, like our team is really good at doing that. We're always keeping up with everyone's social media and what they're up to and what's been published in EASA or BIASA or here, keeping up with, just the different regions. And there's lots of information out there if you want to go and search it. You'll be busy forever just reading about all the amazing things everyone's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, networking's really phenomenal, and I suppose obviously you guys going out and helping the Port Moresby Zoo in New Guinea is obviously great for those guys. But do you think there's been any takeaways for how they operate that you guys maybe have gained from going and helping out?
Yeah, definitely. I think slowing down is a really good one. Like they slow down and they watch their animals. And sometimes we can be so busy here that, there's so many things to do, but you think, hang on, just take a minute, slow down, just have a look what's going on. The other really amazing thing about Port Moresby Nature Park is how they feed the culture into the park as well. So there's lots of different cultures within Papua New Guinea, and they bring them in, have these sing-sings and different things to celebrate culture, which I think we are learning from here, connecting with Indigenous people. We definitely have a way to go. But yes, connecting with culture is really important as well.
Yeah, and Rowan, you mentioned that reading something that you really enjoy in terms of keeping up to date with information. Obviously, you've mentioned also that you're on call 24 hours a day. So
Yeah.
I hope that you find time to relax. But when you're not fighting extinction, what do you do to unwind? Or because it sounds very full on, and so how do you step back from that and take care of yourself?
Uh,
We're both not great at this.
that's a great question.
Yeah.
I do have to manage physical elements really carefully. I read a lot. I love writing books for children, whether they get published or not. It's there for me, really.
Hmm.
So I'm always kind of coming up with ideas about stories. I love film. Nature documentaries are a good way for me as well to connect with different species that you might normally not know about. Listening to podcasts, reading things online and in magazines. It's all just building knowledge and interest. And I think we are a species that, we love to learn and we don't stop learning through your whole life. Like I've been in this industry for a long time now, and I still feel, as was mentioned earlier, I still feel like a new kid on the block, because you have that passion and that drive and that interest. And there's a lot of people around working in the industry that are like that. Their bodies might be packing up, but their mind is sharp and they have so much knowledge to share, which is a really great thing for new people coming through as well, that knowledge always gets passed on.
Yeah, I think it's good to touch on the physicality of the job as well. We probably don't talk about that a lot. But yeah, this job can be really difficult. And now we've got a lot more, OHS and things in place to make sure that people stay fit and healthy. But we do all need to look after ourselves. And you also touched on having time away. So compassion fatigue can be a really big thing in our industry. We're very lucky that we do get trained on that here at Zoos Victoria. But again, we know how fortunate we're very fortunate that we have that training. So knowing that we do, and again, Rowan, I'm probably not the best example, but we do know that we need to have our own things away from zoo life. And mine is walking in state parks. I'm very fortunate with state parks. I love going looking for wildflowers in the spring. I also love to garden, so have little garden beds at home that are all Indigenous plants of different colours, and I do that as well. I'm walking my dog. So yeah, it is really important to have things away from what your career is for that very reason, because we are very prone to burnout in this industry. So we need to look after ourselves.
And it can be very hard to switch off because what we do is a job clearly that we love. And you just want to do the things you love in life that make you happy, that make you interested, that inspire you, working with people that inspire you, working around teams of people that, inspire you to be a better person. Taking that home, it's really great having, a partner or someone else outside of the industry as well.
Yes.
That, you can switch off and talk about all sorts of other things, whether it be sport or the arts. I'm a big fan of the arts, whether it's music or artwork, paintings, opera, all that sort of thing. It's just we all have lots of different creative interests, and I do believe that all of us have something in us that is a bit arty, um, which is really good to explore. But again, it comes down to we do this because we love it, and we love it because that's who we are, and we want to make a difference, and we want to put the animals first, or the plants, whatever we're working with, work hand in hand. So, yeah, everyone wins, but it is important to have other interests. Yeah, and I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, just so much to care about.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, I have two last questions for you. And so the first one is, how can the listeners follow the work surrounding the Lord Howe Island stick insect and all the work of you guys?
Yeah, so we do have updates on our Zoos Victoria social pages and also on the website. There's lots and lots of research that's been published as well. We went through quite a long time of not being able to, because we're doing the work so much, it was hard to be able to actually sit down and do the writing. So we have actually managed to publish quite a lot recently, so that's good. There's a lot of literature out there to look into as well. And then also following the Lord Howe Island Board as well. They'll have important updates around what's next post rodent eradication. Yeah.
Yeah, the good thing, there's been everything from a children's book to a natural history book on the species. There's been documentaries. There's been an animated movie as well. There's all this stuff online. Yeah, which the hatching video that I said, Zoos Victoria's put out a number of clips as well around the species that is all online and accessible for anyone in any corner, anywhere in the world that they can search further. And there is a lot of information still coming out, and that we're still working on. So we partner with, Melbourne University, Australian National University, PhD students, scientists, our senior scientist here at Zoos Victoria, Michael McGrath. We're very lucky to have him and working with him as well. He's a massive part of this story as well. And numerous teams that I've mentioned, not only here but around the world, that are always pumping out stories on what's happening there with their species. And there's a lot of social media content coming out from the different organisations, as this one does on a regular basis as well, which is really cool. Just keeps them in the limelight and in the news, because there's always things that are happening with this species as well, which are really important. And we want to get that information out.
Honestly, sometimes it's hard for me to keep up with all the things that we've been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. Just a huge amount of work.
Yeah, and it really does show. So my last question is, do you have any final messages for our listeners?
Care about bugs.
Yeah.
I hope that we've got that across, that invertebrates are just as important as all the other species out there. They make up 90% of life on Earth. There's some areas where we know a lot about them and still a lot of areas where we don't. It would be amazing to see more care for invertebrates out there in general. And again, it can be as simple as just planting some plants at home for pollinators. Even those small little actions can really, really help. and also stop using pesticides at home.
Yeah.
Because that's really putting them on the back foot as well. So just caring about them, knowing that they also have a conservation plight as well, would be really great.
Yeah, I think for me, being with this species for so long, it's just really great that people from all over the world know about them now, and a lot of that information is coming from here, and we've been involved in that, and that's taken it to bigger and better things as well, and that transcends then into other invertebrate conservation areas. I also love the fact that no matter who you are and where you are, you can get involved in something. Citizen science projects now, volunteering. We have wonderful volunteers here at our 4 properties under Zoos Victoria banner. And, that's really lovely. You make connections with these people because they care as well. Everyone cares in some way about something. So it doesn't matter what the species is. There will be someone out there that will advocate for it, that will fall in love with it, and then that journey will start. And we all have our own journeys to follow. And I think that's really cool, is that you don't know who you're going to influence, whether a child has read my book, for example. What I hope, and I have heard this as well, is that kids coming through then say, I wanted to get into conservation because this book meant so much. And I've seen that. And that's really heartening that, we can all make a difference for the better, not just for ourselves, but for the animals and, for the world in whole. And that's what we should all be trying to aim for as well.
Yeah, some really lovely. Yeah, this guy, some really lovely points to finish up on. Yeah, just listening to the both of you, it's been really motivating. So yeah, thank you both for joining me on this episode of the podcast. It's been really great advocating for the little species and highlighting some really awesome work by zoos and lots of other collective organisations. So we wish you both all of the best with the continuation of this work, and we look forward to receiving updates on how it's going.
Yes, stay tuned.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for your time. It's been awesome speaking with you.
Hey there, friends. Sadly, that does bring this episode to an end. I've loved having you on this journey with me, and I hope you've enjoyed learning about a conservation effort for the Lord Howe Island stick insect. I'm certain there will be a part 3 to this episode in the future, as it sounds like the team are so close to securing the next chapter in this saga. As soon as that happens, I look forward to welcoming Kate and Rowan back to the Conservationists Assemble. Don't forget to rate, subscribe and share the podcast, and follow us on social media. If you have any questions or comments on this episode, please message on Instagram or Facebook, or email us at conservationists.assemble@outlook.com. And like I said at the end of Monday's episode, I'll happily take a can of Phasmid Pale Ale and a Phasmid Stubby off your hands if you happen to be visiting Lord Howe Island at any point. That's all for this episode. Don't forget to check out social media throughout the week to keep the conversation going, where I'll be sharing some photos and videos that complement the discussions in the episode this week. Thank you for listening. You've been amazing as always. Until next time, I have been your host, Jonny Bloxham, and you have been listening to the Conservationists Assemble.